Clap Podcast, episode 20. Today, I guess you'll see the previous podcast with Ethan will go about the tour, but that's why I was away for the last 2 episodes. But I'm very happy to be joined by Majo today.
Hello.
Which is she's an amazing singer-songwriter, like very well known in the Toronto scene. Amazing R&B singer. I think Majo is one of the main people I cite when I say like Toronto has the best R&B. I'm like, yo, listen to Majo. Like, she's incredible. She's beautiful.
I don't leave my house, but thank you.
No, it's okay. Well, thank you for joining us, even though you don't leave your house.
Yes. Yeah. I'm making an effort too lately. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll keep it a little brief because I know you have to go after for a writing camp, which I don't know if you
a Punjabi writing camp.
Oh,
I'm
that's
so
really
excited.
cool.
I'm so excited to be surrounded by brown people. Like that's it. And like especially in music. And they're all so talented. Like I know another singer, I think Jonita's going. And then a bunch of the producers I know too. One of them being Icky, who's like a crazy fucking Punjabi producer, like insane.
So the whole camp is
yeah. Or I think it's like South Asian because I'm Pakistani,
okay.
I'm not Punjabi.
Okay.
But it's like Punjabi centered, like for Punjabi music. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Okay, that's great. And so are you guys gonna write over a course of a couple of days or just like today?
Oh yeah, no. It's literally today. It's today till Friday, from 2 to 8 every day.
Okay.
So I'm so excited to live, breathe, and die
all right.
Punjabi music. Yeah.
okay, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, in terms of, I'm thinking back on how we met initially, and I think it is when we recorded a live for you when you're gonna perform for Playground.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I sort of was introduced to, I guess, your music at the time, and I think I was blown away instantly because I feel like you bring a really unique point of view and perspective and also like sound to the R&B scene, and especially as a woman and a woman of color, I feel like, and it's an amazing thing for music in general because you've been in a lot of studios, you don't see many women in general in the studios, and much less like as an engineer. And this is something I was like really paying attention to during the tour. I was like trying to see how many engineers I would encounter that were either a person of color or a woman.
Yeah.
And there was a couple people of color, one main head engineer that was Asian and Korean, and then one woman, and she was just an assistant on the stage.
Yeah.
So I was kind of sad because I was hoping, at least one venue, but that was kind of the state of the music scene. And I think
for sure, yeah.
How you move in your career, I think you're someone that champions that a lot.
Oh my God, yeah. Like even my last video that got a Prism Prize, it was all headed by women, the most beautiful, gorgeous, talented women, and they did everything. Like I've never stepped onto a set where I had to do less, which freaked me out because I'm used to being like a semi-control freak and being like, or not even that, but just helping. Like I've never enjoyed the artist aspect of like people like what's that word? Serve you on their what's that?
Butler?
No, well, like serve you in a sense, like literally, like be like,
dude,
what do you need? Yeah, exactly. Like I'll go run and do this and that, and I'm like, I have a pair of legs. Please don't do that. Like it's scary. So on this set, like everybody was, and we shot and we ended early. Like that's how and that's what I'm saying. That's how well scheduled, gorgeous this shoot went, and it was 2 days and it was 12 hours every day. So it was like all headed by women in the departments, and we took a picture actually, and we were all just stood there, and it's just all women, and I literally started crying. Like tears started running down my face, and I was like, oh my God, like I have not felt this amount of like love, organization, and just like peace like on a set. And it was genuinely because it was headed by women. So ever since that moment, like I've had a really like a big push to incorporate as many women into my life, because before it's like, oh, we didn't have options, but now I feel like we're coming up even more like with more motivation, power, strength, like, and we're all helping each other get to that place. But that set in itself like was head by Monica and Hajar, and they were insane, and I hope they go on to do beautiful things. Like
I'm
continue
sure they will.
to. Yeah.
I mean, and so after that performance, and I think we shot. After we shot the live, we kind of. I was just like following your career mostly just because I was so interested. Like I just in love with the music, and I don't think I say that about many people, especially in Toronto. I think people have like genuinely am just a fan myself. Like I just listen to your music on the side. Like you're definitely one of them. And so kind of explain or like give the background on how you even started music in general. Like what got you to this point?
So I always tell people that I was just really full of myself really early. At like 10, 11, I was in choir, but I wanted to be the loudest one. So that's how I initially started. Music was performance more than anything else. So I didn't even have the best voice, but I just wanted to be the loudest for some odd reason. And then from that point on, I would do a lot of like group performances, whatever. My music teacher, Dan Simmons, shout out Mr. Simmons, he helped me write my first pieces of music. So at like 13, 14, he would let me stay in at, well, younger than that. I was like 12, 11 to 13, because I was elementary school. He would let me sit in recesses and he would play piano and I would write music. So my first 2 songs, he's the reason why I made them. It was Dance Till We Die. And the other one was I've been losing my mind. That one. So very vast spectrum here. Dance Till We Die and Losing My Mind. Okay. So that's when I started to write music. And then from that point on, he had started an alumni band after when we started high school, and it was all people from my elementary school, and I started to play in a band, and we did like full 12 song set list, no interlude, cause fuck you, like why would you do an interlude? You're gonna hear all 12 songs in a row. And we did that for like years, and that's how I started in music, was actually like performance more than anything else. And then I would perform my written songs. So like my first EP, I started to perform that before it even came out when I was like 17.
Oh wow.
Yeah, with that full band. So yeah, that's how I started.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. And then transitioning from, you're doing this in high school still, 17, going into, did you go to university, college?
Oh, yeah. I went to, well, now TMU, and I went to creative industries.
Okay, so you did creative.
Yeah, I did creative industries, and I dropped out third year after the pandemic because I could not do it anymore. My grades were literally the worst they've ever been, and I think it was because everything went online. Right. And after that, I was like, I think I can just do this without the degree.
All right. So kind of around the same time you were dropping out, were you like kind of committed to doing music full time, or were you thinking about it before?
Well, yes and no. I feel like I was committed to do it because I was leaving school, obviously, but I don't think my brain was formed yet. I feel like this year has been like the first year where I felt my brain actually forming and my life coming to a point of like consistency in a way. I knew I would always do music, like irregardless of how long it took. When my motivation would come through, when the consistency would come through, music was always going to be the thing that I was going to succeed in. So I never worried about it per se. I see. But that was like the beginning of the journey to now, where now I feel very stable in who I am, like as a person. So I feel like I can do music wholeheartedly and know that I'm going to get somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's really scary, like having to drop out of school and then do something like music that isn't stable. And from then until now, it's probably been a couple of years, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how's that journey been, like kind of discovering yourself and like sort of the big uncertainty and then finding yourself in your music?
Oh my God, it's been a shit show. It's been a shit show. Your early 20s is literally a circus. Like it's a circus.
I feel that.
Oh my God. Like the amount of chaos I have experienced in my life. It's actually so traumatic. Like it's been horrifying and bad and terrible. But at the same time, I love who I am right now. And it's only because of those things that I can say that I love myself right now. So I am very grateful, but like that journey was horrific. Like I went to LA for a bit, turned out God forsake everybody. Oh my God. I think LA should burn and die. But anyways, I love people in LA. I just think like the concept of it is actually disgusting. And especially being a woman in that space is actually, like I had to go to therapy afterwards. Like that's how bad that experience was for me. And then even just like navigating personal relationships and who I am, I think the music was always there. Like I could always write amazing music. It was just about me finding myself and wanting to really hone what I wanted to say, because I was writing for other artists in the meantime. Like I wrote for Dylan, I wrote for Nonso, I was on his album. So music was always consistent. It was just about me finding myself. So it's been a horribly like traumatic journey, but in the best way, in that I am alive and grateful to be alive today. So yeah.
For sure. I mean, we're talking about how like it's very male dominated industry for sure. And then also like for people of color, it's also like kind of,
oh my God, yeah.
Like, I mean, way more common now, but like when you think about executives or people in positions of power here, it's not, you can definitely see it's, you can say nepotism, you can say they've just been doing it for longer, but I think it's been great or refreshing to see more women or more people of color kind of go through the industry and kind of take up some executive roles. How has your journey been, sort of campaigning for women or your own personal journey as a woman through the music industry? Kind of walk us through some of your thoughts and things, what are some things you think we can do better as an industry, and some of your experiences and ideas?
So I feel like I was finally heard and seen basically when I brought on my creative director at the time, Karishma, who's gorgeous, beautiful, amazing, and so talented. Photographer, creative director. She has her own skincare brand now, called Manjula Essentials. Go get that, Manjula. But she came into my life, and I finally felt understood by a brown woman. And after that, I was like, I was so surrounded by men my whole life, and they were amazing. They were all black men, because obviously I'm in R&B, right? And I grew up in like the more church scene. And I've been just like so blessed to be around men that have valued me as a talent before even a woman. Like, it's literally been like, you're so fucking talented, I'm gonna help you out. So I never felt less as a woman. But then being seen as like by a brown woman was like completely different. And then growing from there, like that was when I started to add on more of that, aspect into my life. The championing part, like more so for my existence, I feel like as a Pakistani woman, I feel grateful to be in this space and to operate in a space that's not mine. And I hope that can be like a good beacon for other women, like brown women in the industry. But yeah, like a lot of my career has been around that aspect. What was the actual question you asked?
I mean, basically that. I mean, some of the things you feel like, based on your experience, like things we can do better as an industry.
Oh, yes. Okay.
To accommodate for a wider range of people.
What can we do better? My God, just respect women. My God. Like, I think like leaving LA was the most horrific just like reality check on who I was as a human being. And I think from there my perspective of the music industry skewed insanely. Like, and I think the American culture is completely different than Canadian. I will vouch for that. We are so much fucking nicer. Like, we look at each other as human beings. But going to the hub of music per se, like where everybody says like, oh, this is the place you have to be. Girl, fucking get out. Like, there's no reason for you to be there. Like, do not do that. I found some good people, but otherwise, the only thing I learned was that number one, I've never met people more primal in my life. Like men that are more primal, that will think with their first and brain last. And I had to prove myself constantly, like say that my opinion mattered, say that my emotions mattered, like who I existed as a human, like a woman as a human being mattered, just because I was a woman. So like even just you being you, like a portion, it was just being invalidated. Constantly. Like I wasn't even looked at unless if I had a man beside me, because otherwise I was just a beautiful, like I was just a face, like I was just a beautiful woman to people. And they thought I wanted something with that power, and I didn't. I just exist. Like and also I don't leave my house in Toronto, so like attention to me is like last thing I want. And the last thing I need. I want to yap. Like the first thing I want to be validated from is my opinions and my character and who I am. But there it was like constantly challenged. So I think like honestly, people sitting down and really understanding how they see women, people meaning men, and to realize in your life, like, do you actually respect anyone else in your life as a woman besides your mother? Please, like, tell me. Like, do you have a woman best friend? Do you have women that you respect in your life, like that you actually think their opinions matter outside of their bodies? Like, do you look at women as just transactional objects, like as trophies? Like, what is love to you? What is relationships to you? Like, those questions are so important for men to sit down with, and especially in the music industry, to be also in a heavier place of, do I use, like, for the longest time I was like, okay, I have a body, right? As a woman, I have sexual attraction. How do I now go about the music field, gaining respect from people, but also having full creative expression to dress the way I want to dress, or to present myself the way I want to present to people, and still be respected? And that's still a huge thing. Like, people still judge women off of just looks and outfits and whatever the fuck, and not what they're speaking about, what they're talking about, right? So our bodies are highly contested as well. Like the whole BBL trend, like the lip fillers, the everything. Like, it's just a different playground for women to, you know, go about their lives in. But I think definitely just like look at us as human beings. That will really help. That will really help.
The first time I even had to think about it, which is like, you know, well, I did have like she was here. Her name was and she came through for a studio session before, but we weren't familiar with each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes people come with groups, some people just come alone and things like that.
Yeah.
But she did specifically bring like kind of an entourage, like 2 people that she trusted. And I don't think of anything of it personally. It's like, oh, just your friends, something comfortable we haven't met before. But she specifically said, but it was just like something that like triggered like a thought, was just like, oh, like there's been people in the studio that like specifically men that like have been weird in that sort of interaction, and it was just more comfortable to bring other people. I was like, oh shit, like I haven't even thought of it.
Exactly,
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, when it comes to people in the industry, like as much as we feel like I've built or I am surrounded by people that are like very good and we think alike, you know, like especially in Toronto, like we're one of the most, if not the most diverse city in the world. You know, like we're here because like as a community we grew up around so many different kinds of cultures and people and like similar minded, like progressive people, and then all of a sudden you're in the music industry and then it's kind of not like that anymore. And it's kind of weird, and I feel like it's been blessed in a way in Toronto because the environments we are surrounded in the studios, and even having like a full Punjabi camp, like Southeast Asian camp, like I think that's such an amazing thing here in Toronto. So when you say all these things, it makes you really like reflect on, like, you know, it's also sort of our job to create a better environment and
for sure
be able to create opportunities and give opportunities and have a platform for people to like speak out. And I think one of the reasons why we want to keep running this podcast is so people can speak about these different sort of experiences, right? That 1,000%. Maybe some people just haven't had a chance to hear or understand. And I really like value your opinion. Also, like, you should be blessed that you don't have to think about these things. You know what I mean? And and also come to, like, I love men that are a little more ignorant too, because I'm like, oh, you don't even have that thought to take advantage of this moment, right? Like that power dynamic thing. Power dynamic.
But I would also say, like, to those men, like, just because you're not that guy, that doesn't mean you don't stand up for women in that place. And you're like, well, I'm not that person. Like, I'm not a guy that would do that. That's great. There are still homies that will do that. So talk to them. Like, literally, if you know that someone's weird as hell, speak up. And I feel like a lot of men also skirt responsibility in that way, because they're like, well, my homies are not like that. And it's like, yeah, but you know people like that. So say something about it, you know? So but that's really nice that even in this podcast, like, I can have this space. So thank you.
No, of course. I mean, I learn every week that I'm on here. So like, I always try my best to keep an open mind. And I think it's amazing to hear people speak about their experiences, because that's really how I connect with the community and music as well, right? Like, I think it's a really big deal to like know where, like, how someone got to where they are, or what their experiences are, and because that adds to the music, adds to the craft.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, we kind of talked about a little bit of a deeper topic right away, but you know, kind of keeping things a little bit lighter and going back to the beginnings, like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the first songs that really took off for you was Honey. Yeah, and then sort of like talk about sort of like the history or the background behind Honey, and then how that sort of changed your career.
My little badoody honey, my little baby. It was 2020. It was, I think we wrote that in 2019 or around that time, or 2018. It was actually, that's like the first song that was like the least honest about a specific experience. All of my songs are very honest about a very specific experience in person. I was inspired by this one dude who we just all we did was talk, and like, I had never had my first kiss yet. I was a late bloomer or whatever, and I literally told him, I was like, what inspired the first line, or I think it was like the second or third line in the song, where it was like, speak less and I'll take it off of you. It literally came from a point of frustration where I was like, just touch a titty or something, like, let's just like get it on with it, like, and it never happened, thank God, love you for that. But yeah, that's what inspired Honey, was like this like feeling of it was like a dreamlike state where I want to be with somebody in that space and experience the first like physical sensation, the experience, and the idea that it's literally like honey, like supposed to be smooth, sweet, gorgeous. And I wrote that with Chris Godfrey and Jason Amos at the time. He had produced it as well. And it was literally a labor of love. Like I had just recently looked back at how many takes we did for that song, like vocally, and God bless Jason Amos. This man pushed me, and he was like, we need to do redos. And I had listened to the older takes that I thought were fine, and they were a booty hole. They were literally dog shit. So I was like, this is amazing that you pushed me there, and that's inspiring me now to like redo my vocal takes all the time, because he found magic in that. Like that's what he was looking for. So yeah, Honey was the first one where I felt I also spoke about a little more sexual topic as a Pakistani woman, like great, like we don't really talk about that stuff. So I was very grateful that that's the first one that hit people, and it's still to this day my favorite to perform. Yeah.
I mean, when I heard it live the first time, I was like, oh my God.
It literally gets better every time. Like, and also because my vocals get better every time in my performance and the way we do it, like I still love performing it.
That's amazing. And in terms of like how it kind of changed your career, like after that, like, do you feel like you started like more, I mean, obviously more eyes, but when it comes to opportunity where like people reaching out to you, do you feel like that kind of changed a lot for you?
Yeah. I had like a huge influx of people that wanted to champion me, the music, support me, which was really, really beautiful. And I think I still have people's respect to this day because of that song. So I'll never take that for granted. It just, I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready to continue my career in the way that it would build momentum from that moment. Like even the releases after that still took long. But I feel like it was a great like pinpoint in time of like, well, this is what I'm capable of, even at freaking 19, right? So I still love that song. I feel like it's definitely started my career, and the momentum has lasted over years and years. But I think people will still look back in like 5 years time and be like, remember when Majo had Honey? Like, I still love that song, which I love. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what a timeless track is, because it's like you don't really write it thinking like, oh, people are gonna listen to this 5-10 years down the road, you know? But there's something beautiful about that, I think, like looking back and sort of reflecting on it. It's just like, it's really cool that people still go back and listen to music that you wrote back then. And I think some of the sadder stories are like people don't feel like they connect with that music anymore, where they don't really want to like, they kind of brush it aside.
That's not Majo anymore.
And I think the people that still like connect with it and you still like performing it, I think that's an amazing thing, And so going from Honey, and you said sort of you weren't ready for that moment, what do you like sort of, what does that really mean? What do you like? Because I kind of feel the same way when I first started my career, and I kind of got a little bit of traction, but I was like way too young. I was like 17, 18.
Oh, wow.
When that happened. Yeah, and around 19 too. So sort of, what is your sort of thought process when you mean by like you weren't ready?
Well, I think at the time, of course, it's an exciting moment to be like, oh, this song lifted off, and I had so many dreams that I wasn't a mentally stable human being. Like I cried every day. Like I was still trying to figure out my life, and in the moment you have hope. You're like, okay, like I can sustain this momentum. I can keep making the music, but I was still in school at the time too. So I had to juggle a lot of stuff. And until I considered a hiatus, I think it was like hiatus before or after, until my next song, but I didn't have the brain capacity to create consistently and believe in what I created. Even at that time, I wasn't even confident in my vocals yet. Like
oh wow,
I know, like, which is crazy to say, but in the studio, it was very hard for me to feel confident about myself and even know what production wise I wanted. Like I think at the time, I let other people decide. I literally was like, if you think the roads sound nice, then fucking put it in. I don't care. Okay. So I didn't have that much like creative control. I literally just created, and if it ended up nice, great. But I didn't really have an idea of what I liked and didn't like. Now I'm very sure of that, and I'm confident behind it. But at the time, I was not. So I think that's what it was.
I mean, leading up to your current EP, which is called Things I Haven't Met.
Things I Never Said.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Things I Haven't Met. Oh, okay, remix.
No, I just read it wrong. I just read it wrong. Things I Never Said. I noticed that it was very like acoustic guitar focused.
Yeah.
It was like the predominant instrument, if not like basically the only instrument.
Yeah. It was an acoustic EP. Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, I think that was a very clear example of you being very sure about your creative vision.
Yeah.
So like kind of walk us through your thought process when you were creating that project.
Yes. Yeah. So it was literally inspired by Hey It's Me, like the acoustic outro that popped off on my last EP. And me and Chris Godfrey, God bless that man. He the only thing, I mean, not even the only thing. He does a lot of things for me, but I think our special magic has come from him just playing guitar and me just writing music. And that's how we start most things. But with that stuff, like Hey It's Me was like a 15-minute process, 20 minutes. That's it.
Oh, wow.
We were good. We were in and out. Like I had some prepared lyrics and then I just wrote in the moment. But that's the thing we do best. So when that popped off, I was like so inspired to bring back a couple of songs from when I was 18, 19. So a couple of songs on that EP are from when I was 18, 19. Like Start Over is from that era. What else? Bad Omen is from that era. That's also very old. Only a couple of songs were brand new, which was Wake Up and Sleep 93. There's one more I'm missing. Am I not? No, maybe not. But yeah, so I was like, okay, great. If you guys really appreciate this part of me, I'd love to show you more while I kind of figure out my next like production process and building out my team and whatever. Like the full production stuff I wasn't ready for yet.
I see.
So that's why that EP came out. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I mean, Wake Up's my personal favorite. No bias. Live did shoot the live for it.
Yes.
But I genuinely like that is when it comes to lyrics, the sound, everything sonically. Like I just love that song so much.
Thank you.
Kind of walk us through like your idea. I mean, we can flash this up on screen. Wake Up, like the live. Like, what was sort of your inspiration behind like the set, the process? You had basically a whole choir behind you, 2 violins. That was really unique. You know?
Oh my God, that song. Oh my goodness. It's such a ethereal song, I feel, in my creative process. And it was because the song was inspired by a terrible human being, which was my ex-boyfriend and my first boyfriend ever. So I'm letting myself off for that one as my first boyfriend ever. We only dated for 4 months, and yet this man left. He obliterated me, like actually, like inside out, soul is gone. I didn't know who I was anymore. And right in the beginning, he felt like a dream. Like he had sold me this dream of who he was, and Wake Up was born from that dream. It was literally like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm in a dream and I want to wake up and believe that you are real. And it's like a very beautiful duality, because it's like, oh, I'm in this dreamlike state, but you're real, so I want to be here with you. I don't want to just look at you as if you're not something I can attain, like you're here. So that's what the feeling I wanted to bring in the live was. When I talked to Coven about it, I was like, I wanted to feel like I'm literally in heaven. Like this is us in the steps of, at the gates of heaven, and we have this gorgeous, beautiful, we have TBD behind us, we got strings, we got the piano, like the set. And I wanted to make it feel as unreal and as beautiful and otherworldly as possible, because that's how it felt at the time, and that's what that song meant to me. So yeah,
it was really interesting shoot. Like I don't think I've shot a whole choir or for a live, because there was a whole live
like
performance.
A trio,
everything was recorded live, like no fake shit. Having the whole like TBD and then the 2 violins, like it was really, really fun to shoot. So it was a great experience and a great
happy.
song.
I'm happy. Like I'm also grateful that my music creates so much community. And at the end of the day, it's not even just about the music, it's the fact that there were so many people in that room to come together for that moment, and you guys also enjoyed it, you know. So that means a lot.
It was a great experience. Also, did you meet Coven in RCA? Or
Oh,
okay.
We met in uni.
So you know Nico too?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Everything's starting to make sense.
Okay,
I got you. I mean, when it comes to, obviously now you've done like amazing things, and then you're very accomplished in your own right in the music industry. But like, obviously when you first started to drop out, like I'd assume Immigrant Parents, they're probably like
to this day, babe.
Wow,
to this day, my dad's like, go back to school. LOL. LOL, no.
What sort of have you like? What have you tried to like convince him, or like?
No, there's no convincing. I feel like my brother's a pharmacist. He's married. He has a child. Like they have their perfect kid. I came out and I was a wild card. They're like, okay, we have our grandson. Like he kind of fulfilled that dream for them. And they know I will do what I want to do, and in the most respectful way possible. Like I respect my own journey in life, and from the beginning I told them, I was like, if I make a mistake, I want it to be on my own terms, and not that you told me to do something and I have resentment for that, you know. So they know that at the end of the day, that's best for our relationship, and I will take responsibility. I'll never blame them for letting me do music and me failing at it. Like I did that myself. So yeah.
I see. And was that something that sort of like weighed on your mind when you first started doing music, like kind of the parental pressure, the family pressure, or you kind of were just like, all right, like my music is my music and this is my career. I'll just, you know what you want to do here, and you kind of just let that success speak for itself? Or did it kind of like, can you separate the two, or did it weigh a lot on you?
It's a combination of the two. I feel like now I don't tell my parents much of my music career because they start to stress me a little about things where it's like, well, why aren't you, like I told my mom the other day, I was like, this is just the beginning of my career. And she's like, beginning? You've been doing this for 4 years. I'm like, yeah, I know. But I'm like, now is when I feel like I'm really pushing off. So I was like, and I have so many more years in me. Like I see it for me, right? But they don't really necessarily see the long distance of it. So yeah, like the pressure now is not much pressure. I keep it pretty separate. They also respect that I'm an adult. And as a Pakistani girl, like living at home is very normal. Like they will allow me in that house until I'm 30. Until I'm married, they'll be like, brothers, sit here, do your music, who cares? As long as I'm making enough money. I was blessed with a lot of grants this year. I've been very financially stable. I did do like a little part-time job at Shoppers Drug Mart. Shout out Shoppers. So that made them happy. But at the same time, it was fine for me to have structure, whatever. So it's a delicate balance of respect on both ends, and that I respect and love my parents for wanting the best for me, but they also do understand that I know what's best for me too, because so much of myself has grown outside of their view. So yeah, like the parental pressure is less now. It's more so like just brown aunties trying to get me married off, and I'm like, babe, like literally the other day this auntie was like, I have 2 sons at home, keep them at home. Keep them right at home. I don't want to know them. And she didn't even ask what I did, which was funny to me because I'm like, you should probably ask what I do before you try to marry off your sons to me. I'm literally a singer. Like my entire body's on the internet. Like, don't do that to yourself. It's not even that deep, but like to them it's that deep. Like the things I do, the way, culturally it's huge. But honestly, at the end of the day, like the whole marriage thing, they don't even care. They're like, you're gonna get married and quiet down and, you know, start cooking at home. And I'm like, no, not actually, no. So yeah, but that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. I mean, in terms of what you're looking forward to and what you're planning towards for future projects, like sort of what are you working on right now, if you want to disclose? Sort of what are your future ideas? What are some things that like are like dream projects for you that you really want to accomplish?
So the project that I'm working on right now is another EP. I'm really trying to establish myself networking wise and the industry wise, because I feel like I'm very quiet about myself, especially with the internet. I know we'll talk about it later, but
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, like this is where I'm getting my footing. But I did finish some songs in LA with an amazing producer named Keith Rice. He was like the shining achievement of that entire trip. Every time we would go in for a session, we'd get a full song out of it.
Oh, wow.
And it was like done, like written, everything. He's such an amazing producer and such a weird and beautiful human being. And I love that because I'm weird and beautiful. But those songs I have so much love for. So that's like a little project that's going to come out. The only thing I'm working on is like the last track. Either it's going to be another one of Keith's tracks that we make now, or I just add in another track that I have already in the vault that I do want out. But yeah, that's going to be like my actual intro into what production wise I want for myself. And it is very this is so corny to me, it's so different from what I've done before, but it actually is very, very different. And I think I'm really exploring myself sonically, vocally, my personality in music more so, because I know I give off this goddess ethereal vibe, and I'd like to do that with more like pushy tracks. Like I feel like I'm very beautiful and cinematic, but I need a little more edge in me, and I've always wanted that. So that's what the next project is going to be like.
I'm very excited. Okay, that's amazing. And sort of like, I mean, that's something you're working on right now. Do you want to shoot any more music videos, or are there any like bigger projects that like short films, documentaries, like I don't know?
Yeah. Well, now I want to start documenting myself. I feel like for Honey too, I literally asked the crew, I was like, so like what about somebody else being me? Like I didn't even want to be in that music video because I was never confident in my face, my look, anything. And I was so young. Now I'm so confident in myself, and I want to be in front of a camera, and I feel like I also have formulated enough solid opinions where I believe in what I say and I stand by it, and I want to create a more community aspect of my brand, which is I want to speak to people. So I've always thought about like even like a podcast or going on more podcasts, like more speaking things. I want to build out my brand where I do community events now. Cool. Because Sick of the Internet is literally like get off the fucking internet, like come see me in person.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I want to build next. I would say my next big project is probably like my birthday show that I'm going to throw. I'm going to tell you guys now. August 30th. Put it in your calendars.
August 30th.
Put it in your calendars. But I'm doing a show at the Rivoli, and I want that to be like my first intro into community building and the idea of Sick of the Internet. So I'm going to do a full band show, a DJ set with like a female DJ, hopefully. And just like a celebration point, but also bring together people from all aspects of my life to say that this is who I am, like this is what the music will bring us to. But otherwise, like a documentary would be nice. That'd be really cool.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like most of it would just be me like driving downtown to get away from the suburbs, like every day. DVP. No, literally, like actually, like a quarter of the entire documentary is just me an hour on the goddamn DVP and like filling up gas. Like that's it.
You know what? You should film that documentary. Send it to the Toronto City.
Oh my god!
Like, literally, what the fuck?
The beef I have. I would honestly just send a video of me just in Europe and be like, look at how much better this shit is. Get better at this.
How was
like,
that trip, by the way?
Oh, babe, I almost died.
Wait, actually?
I almost lost my life in Malaga, Spain. I went by myself. I was like I was the most depressed I've ever been in my life. It got to a point where I genuinely was just like so exhausted to live. And I think like the last 2 years really caught up to me. And I just had to, because I was obliterated from my last relationship, I didn't know who I was. And I took a lot of my ex's dog shit characteristics, like who he was projected so well onto me, that I became insecure and I became unsure, and I like became somebody I didn't like at all. And I was like, okay, I just need to leave the suburbs. I need to leave my room. I need to leave the fucking PTC, the goddamn Pickering Town Center could die. I was like, I can't be here anymore. I can't see the same H&M every day. Like I can't do this. And I literally went stir crazy and just last minute booked this trip by myself. And I almost died on a mountain because I rented a car and Google Maps took me a very weird way back to my Airbnb, and I had to call my Airbnb owners, shout out them, two beautiful gay Dutchmen, and they came to my rescue and like over the phone guided me back down the mountain. And I was in a Toyota Yaris. Like that shit is not a mountain. That's not a mountain car. Like, you know what I mean? Like that shit is that's barely road. Like at that point. Yeah. So I had to like reverse back on the narrowest road.
Oh my God.
Didn't know Spanish. Like it was a very small town too. So, and I was in a bikini. Like I literally was from the beach. Like I was so chill, so relaxed. And I came back home. Oh my God, my mom's gonna see this. Okay, I can't say what I did after. Anyways, but let's just say that night, definitely had a good time and packed up all my things. And the next day was so sick and nauseous. It was very hard for me to get to the airport. Like it was like an hour drive, and I cried in front of my Airbnb owners. But other than that,
it was a good trip.
It was amazing. Like the views were gorgeous. Would highly recommend solo tripping. And the 16 hours in Paris changed my life. I had a layover in Paris.
Okay.
And shout out Ricardo and Alex. And we biked to the club. And it was a jazz bar in a cave.
Oh my God.
And people were lit as fuck. Like there was a tap dancer. And I was like, okay, tap dancer, like get your shit. And everybody was having a good fucking time. And everybody was out till 4 a.m. Like there were still people on the streets enjoying themselves. We went to that bar, then we went to a Latin club. It was the hottest I've ever been. I finally got to bend a man over in the club. Like it was so good. It was so much fun. It was such a vibe. And then I went to a crepe stand, and there were a bunch of brown people that clocked me as a brown woman, and they were like, salam, and I was like, in Paris, hello. What? Okay. And we had a little combo. But it was like gorgeous. And then literally almost walked all the way back to the hostel, like just walked and walked with Alex, and it was like such a beautiful conversation. These people are so beautiful. But it like really opened my perspective up of there are so many more possibilities. When you're stuck in your room, you don't think so. But life is so beautiful. Like
that's whenever I feel like stagnant or stuck or like in a bad mental state, I also feel like traveling the world and just seeing what else there is to live. Like, and how people live in general, like helps me so much. And of course it's a privilege to be able to travel in the first place.
1,000%. But
you know, for me that just helps so much. And even just like this sounds stupid, but I just like how seeing the average person lives their life. Like
oh my
the
God,
average,
yes.
like 9 to 5. Like, what do they do?
Oh my God.
Where
But
do they
in
go to
Europe,
eat?
babe, they're chilling. Like they're so laid back. Like there's a 2-hour period where they just close their shops, take a little nip nap. Just like
That's amazing.
And just to like, it's just so gorgeous to exist in these spaces and to see that people are very fucking chill. Like our culture is so grind. It's so get up every
especially
day.
In the city.
Yeah, do something. But it's also because of the affordability. Like if you don't, then you don't live. Like you're not affording to live. Yeah. So your life is at stake. And it's like, that's horrific. That's horrible. And there, it's not that at all. Like, why am I getting a coffee for €1.20? Oh my God. I almost moaned. Like I was like, here I had to pay $8 for one cup of coffee. Like that's
it's kind of crazy.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Dude, food's expensive, man.
It's so expensive to exist. So there, it's like the complete opposite. Like everybody is so like grateful to just be alive. They have that. They're not in that survival mode. You know, at least not from my. I'm just a traveler, so maybe living in these places are different.
That's what I heard about Europe in general.
Yeah. So
I mean, culturally, they live life very differently from us, and clearly it impacts music.
Oh
in
yes.
general.
Yeah.
A lot of people like when they do writing camps or they go out and like go to where they want to set up shop for the next couple months to write an album, wherever it is, they go out of town.
Exactly.
They go to Europe.
Never be here.
They go somewhere else, somewhere remote, because like that's what you kind of mentally need to be when it comes to, you know, like putting yourself into the music.
Yeah, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
Like we don't do that enough.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I saw most of those things through social media, and you kind of documenting your trip throughout that. And I mean, we kind of touched upon social media use and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, in this sort of landscape in the industry, music industry, creative industry, like social media is a very, very important tool and almost a necessity, basically a necessity at this point in order to market and promote yourself. And you said yourself, like, you kind of were away from the internet, or maybe, like, it's a healthy thing. I have to be careful about it, too, and have a balance. So how do you find your balance is with your relationship with social media and kind of how you promote and market your music going forward?
So I'm trying to build that now. I feel like I want to be on the internet on my own terms. Like I don't want to be on the internet to prove anything, to say that I'm alive, to say that I'm doing something. That's the last thing. I work in silence most of the time. And actually somebody from my program, the creative industries, I forget who it was, but they had DM'd me a couple years back, and they were like, I love that we were in a social media class together and you stayed true to what you told the professor, which was you're only going to be on the internet if you actually have something to say. Otherwise you're fuck off. Like you're literally fucked off the internet. Yeah. And I love that because I know that every time I'm going to watch something of you, it's meaningful. It's not just to say that you're here on the internet. It's like, oh, I have a show, or I'm doing this, or like it's an actual intentional, beautiful moment. And I'm trying to balance that now and bring like intentionality back into my social media use. Most days it just, honest to God, stresses me out to be on there. And now that I'm becoming more comfortable in my body, I feel like I can like show my face more, because otherwise it's a lot of my words, but it's not much of myself. So to grow into myself has helped me come back into that landscape without feeling like, oh, I'm showing my face because I want people to say I'm beautiful because I feel ugly today. It's literally just, oh, I feel beautiful, so let's like share this moment, you know? So balancing that, and obviously music and marketing on all that aspect, like I just want people to love who I am, and I don't want it to be a marketing ploy to be on the internet so much before a rollout or whatever. I just want to be myself, and people love that and be comfortable with the internet and being on there. So that's just a journey I'm gonna have to you know, process it myself. I mean, it's a struggle for me too. Like I'm not, the social media, like I realized I was too much on it. I was affected by it too much. I was looking at what other people were doing. Of course. Oh my God, of course. Yeah.
Obviously comparing yourself, like it's there's parts of it that are really toxic. How we use and view it. But at the same time, it's a really important tool, and we understand that, right? So like, I think your perspective on it is like, it was really good, because like being intentional, going on there to sort of show who you are, but not necessarily go there for validation.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. I think that's a really good way of viewing it. And you know, every day I'm still learning the space and kind of my own relationship with it. So I think the way you approach it is like really good. I think I could learn a lot from that, honestly, being more intentional.
Like, I mean, social media is like the biggest display of your ego on planet Earth. Like
Right.
if you want a huge ego, fucking be on the internet all the time, you know, and everything has a positive and a negative. I think it's literally how you conduct yourself, but everything in moderation. It's a tool. It's not something that it should be using you. You should be using it. And also there's enough shit. Like there's enough bullshit on the internet.
Yeah.
Just be good. Like, you know what I mean? At least spread positivity. Like at least spread like something good in the world. We see horrific things every single day on that thing. So that's all I want to do is just at least spread some sort of positivity or good.
Yeah. And when it comes to positivity, you know, like the way we came up and had to like grapple with through like kind of the beginnings of our career and trying to find ourselves through that journey, what sort of advice do you have for people who are sort of in that same position, you know, people who are just starting out in the creative industry or the music industry, you know, people of color, women out there, like what advice would you give to them in order to like kind of help jumpstart their careers in the space?
I think, oh my God, just know yourself. And I think you're going to have to learn from experience, but start from surrounding yourself with people who love you for literally you. Like if you start to hear people being like, oh, I think you should do this, or I think you should do that, I think you would look better doing that. There's criticism that's obviously very good for you, but there's a degree of like control that people want to have over you and your artistry sometimes. And if you don't know yourself, you're going to let them run with it, you know? So knowing yourself is huge, especially starting out. Following that like inner intuition, that gut feeling of if you feel like you're in the right space or not, because that will at the end of the day determine everything. Like the way your music comes out, the way it's going to sound, what you're going to say. It's really reliant on the community that you build around yourself. So I think build the community and really surround yourself with people that are going to uplift, empower, and love who you are, and not want to like over control it necessarily.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really huge, like coming up, especially because a lot, oh my God, there's so many opinions. There's so many opinions on who you should be. And
everyone has something to say.
Everyone. And there's some crazy opinions out there, but like there are things where you're looking at me like, bro, like I'm not going to listen to that, you know? Right. And then there's things where you're like, hey, that's actually good advice from somebody who's experienced, you know? But be very wary about who you surround yourself with, because that's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's really good advice. I know that's something I have to like learn myself and still experiencing myself. But, you know, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. And it was a lovely conversation. And, you know, I always say this at the end of the podcast for people, like, I'm always learning on the side of the couch, you know, like when it comes to talking to people and experiencing and learning, like the human experience, the artist experience, like try to be your best and be open-minded, you know, try to spread positivity, and, you know, thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next one, baby.
The next one, baby.